how to start an intro. Hi guys, I'm Solin. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about a true crime story, and I was not planning on this to be a mukbang, but I am very hungry and I just ordered some sushi, so I hope you don't mind that. And before starting today's video, I just want to give a few trigger warnings. This video will contain blood, unaliving, cannibalism, and things similar to that. So if you do not like to hear about these topics, then please exit the video. Okay? Okay. So today we will be talking about Armin Meiwes, a computer technician born on December 1st, 1961. Armin was born in Essen in Germany, and he lived with his father, his mother, and his two other older brothers. They were much older than Armin. His father was in a relationship prior to getting with Armin's mother, so those two brothers are Armin's half-brothers. Armin's father was the one providing for the family, while his mother was a stay-at-home mom, taking care of the children and doing house chores and all of those things. And the family had two properties actually, one where they were living in Essen, where Armin was born, and the second property was in Rotenburg. So the second property in Rotenburg was actually a very big mansion-like type of house. So the second property in Rotenburg is where the family would spend most of the school weekends and holidays at. It was very big, it had a big garden, and they had animals there, and they were building house trees in the trees, and Armin really loved being there. He really enjoyed being there, spending time together with his family, playing with the animals. So growing up, Armin was very happy. He was a well-behaved little boy, as his father described him. He was out of trouble, very ordinary, is what you can call him basically. And then by the age of 6, Armin's brother, who were much older, moved out of the house. And so it was just Armin's father, Armin's mother, and Armin living together. And of course, Armin's brothers included Armin a lot, even though there was a big age gap. But when they would play, they would bring and invite Armin as well. But when they then left the house, Armin was the only child in the household, and he had to play pretty much by himself. So yeah, up until now, everything was pretty much normal in Armin's life, except for being pretty lonely growing up. And then one day when Armin was 8 years old, he was playing outside of the house in Rotenburg, and this was the day that his father just left Armin and his mother. He didn't give any explanation on why, he didn't say goodbye, he just took his stuff and just left. And Armin was sitting in this garden playing when he saw his father drive off. And Armin, of course, was very confused. He started running after the car, trying to stop his father, but his father just kept on driving and didn't even look back. And this was the last time that Armin ever heard from his father or ever even saw his father. So at this point, it was just Armin and his mother living in this big house, 36 rooms, no one to play with. Armin felt very abandoned, especially now that he was the only child, the only boy in the household. He felt like every man that he was close to, that he cared about, left him. His father left him, his brothers left him, and it was just his mother now. So now that Armin's father left, his mother became the only parent, and she became a very dominant one. Where Armin went, she went, and where she went, Armin had to go. So Armin was never allowed to basically do what he wanted or what he liked to do. His mother would also belittle him a lot in public, so, yell at him, talk down to him in public. When Armin was a child, he still saw his mother as his idol. He looked up to his mother, and he also felt some kind of responsibility over her, now that he was the only male figure in the household. So he would always look after her, he would always take care of her needs, do everything what she told him to do, he would do it. He would do anything to win the approval of his mother. This is his only parent, this is the only person beside him in the household. And this was going on from the time that Armin's father left up until Armin became a full-grown man. Okay, so this was going on for years. So Armin and his mother were, of course, always together, as I explained, but as a child, you need someone to play with, and Armin didn't have any other siblings or that many friends at all. Basically, Armin was not the most outgoing child. He would wish for a younger brother. He would tell this to his mother, but his mother she was just too scared to be heartbroken again. So to cope with this loneliness, he created an imaginary friend named Frankie. And of course, it's very normal for children to have imaginary friends. That's fine. They would play together. But the strange part is that Armin would share his secrets to Frankie. And the secrets were that Armin wished to eat his friends alive so that they could be a part of him and never leave him alone, and so that this feeling of loneliness would disappear. So remember, these thoughts about this cannibalism thoughts started when Armin was a little boy, and they grew stronger and stronger and stronger as Armin was growing up into his teens. So Armin's mother died in 1999, and I believe that this is the point that triggered Armin's behavior to just come out even more. And then when his mother died, Armin created a mannequin, or like a shrine, that he kept in one of the rooms of the house. And every night he would put this mannequin on a pillow. He would lay the mannequin down as if it was his own mother. And that's a little, I don't know, I don't like that. That's very strange. That's a little too much. No, he loved his mother, but that's a little too much. So then Armin, being 28 years old, going from having his mother being very dependent on him and him not being able to really do what he wanted, now he had this big house, or this big mansion, all by himself. Kind of started exploring his desires a little more after that. So Armin, of course, was very much into, I'm not sure what terms I should use or what terms is appropriate, but adult videos, films, and the very violent ones. I'm not talking about BDSM. I'm talking violence, like torture, pure torture. So he was, he was exploring and searching on the internet, and that's how he came across the Cannibal Cafe. And the Cannibal Cafe, what is that, you ask? Cannibal Cafe was a forum for people with a cannibalism fetish, basically. However, at the website, they made a very clear difference between reality and fantasy. Like, this was just for your fantasies, to talk about your fantasies, and this is not where you're supposed to make it happen. But Armin was not a rule follower. So what did he do, you ask? He uploaded an ad there. He saw an opportunity and he took it. And the ad said, quote, "Looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old male who wants to be eaten," basically. But Armin's fetish was very specific. Armin wanted to eat someone who was well-built, who was kind of young, because the meat would be different. And he also wanted the person to want to be consumed. He didn't want to force it upon someone. And there were actually a few people who replied to this ad, who were interested, who even came all the way to his house to, talk about it more, feel it out. One even came all the way from London. However, all of them so far, last minute, they just said, "No, I don't want to proceed. Like, I have second thoughts and I changed my mind." And Armin actually let them go. He didn't want to eat someone who didn't want to be eaten. It was very important for him to stick to this. But in January of 2001, Armin got a response from Bernd Brandes, a 43-year-old computer engineer from Berlin in Germany. Should I call him Bernd or Brandes? I think I will call him Brandes. I think that's easier for me. His dream was to be unalived and consumed. Match made in heaven. So Armin and Brandes were communicating a lot the next few weeks or kind of months, and they would be planning the whole thing. Armin had planned which room in the house that they should be taking place. Brandes would say, for example, that he wanted his meat to be eaten and that he wanted his skull to be used as an ashtray. Basically everything planned to the T. And so they talked and talked until March of 2001, when Brandes took the train all the way from Berlin to Rotenburg. And it's a very long travel distance, so there is plenty of time for Brandes to be thinking and, you know, going this through and thinking if he wants to do this or not. But eventually he arrives at Armin's house, and the two of them, of course, started talking and whatnot. And then they would proceed to have some adult time together, you know, enjoying each other's company. And I just want to point out that everything from here forward has been recorded. So it's all on tape. There is a videotape recording this whole event. And again, this part is very graphic. So if you're sensitive to hearing about blood, about cutting of human flesh, anything like that, then please exit the video. So to minimize the pain that Brandes was about to go through as much as possible, Brandes took a cocktail of sleeping pills, cough medicine, and also alcohol. So they proceeded to go into that killing room, let's call it. And Armin took a knife, and Brandes was laying down, and Armin proceeded just to cut Brandes' genitals off. I'll try to be using nicer words for things, okay? And they had beforehand already talked about that Brandes wanted his genital to be eaten, so Armin cut it off, and Brandes wanted to eat his own genital. Yeah, sorry. So he tried to take a bite of it, but Brandes just couldn't chew on it. It was too chewy. That's how it was explained. It was too chewy. And he requested Armin to cook it. So Armin took the piece of genital and took it to the kitchen and, you know, tried to prepare it with a little bit of salt, with a little bit of pepper and garlic. However, Armin accidentally burned it. And so they never got to try that part of the body. So then, of course, Brandes was bleeding profusely. His genital has just been cut off, and Armin described it as a fountain of blood coming out of there. So he took Brandes from the killing room and moved him to the bathroom and laid him down in the bathtub, where Brandes then would lay for several hours. So he was dying a very slow death, and Brandes was very much in and out of it. So he was like being kind of unconscious and then waking back up and then back and forth like that. And Armin did not like that. Armin did not like his close friend that he has been talking to and made this connection with. He did not like seeing him suffer for that many hours and being in pain, you know, for that period of time. Remember, the camera is still recording all of this. Like, they're moving the camera with them into the different rooms and everything. So the camera is still on. But Armin does not like this idea of Bernd being in pain still. It had been 7-8 hours and Brandes was still alive. So Armin took a knife and he stabbed Brandes multiple times in his neck to end his, you know, suffering. And this is where the dissection part starts. So after killing Brandes, Armin started to cut Brandes' body up into blocks, much smaller pieces, so that they could be stored in the freezer. So now Armin was happy. He knew that Brandes was happy. Armin had a freezer full of Brandes meat, and he would eat of this meat for a year. He would cook it as a steak, he would have it with potatoes and red wine. Like, it was a full-blown meal, like a feast for him. Everything was good for Armin up until November of 2002, when his human flesh supply started running low. He was almost out of it. He almost didn't have any meat left. So what did Mr. Armin do? He returned back to the forum of Cannibal Cafe. And once again, he made another ad, very similar to the first one, asking for a well-built man, you know, between 18 and 30, who wants to be butchered and consumed. And again, people were, you know, answering him and he was talking. However, this time, the ad was seen by a Swiss student who thought that this ad was a little bit too much. It was not talking about a fantasy, it was talking about doing something in real life. So the student contacted the local authorities and informed them of this advertisement. And then almost 1 month later, after uploading this ad, instead of Armin receiving a hit on the ad, Armin's front door was hit. Like, the police just raided his house. So the police, of course, they understood that this was regarding cannibalism, and the house looked normal upon entering, but they knew what they were looking for because of the ad. In the freezer, they found the few bits left of Brandes' flesh. And they also eventually found the videotape that had recorded the whole event with Brandes and Armin, or between Brandes and Armin. So of course, naturally, Armin was arrested. So Armin was arrested, but this case was not going to be as easy or as straightforward as the lawyers thought in the beginning. You see, cannibalism is still to this day still legal in many countries, and Germany being one of them. So this was very problematic for the lawyers in this case. They could not charge Armin with anything regarding the cannibalism part, So what they had to proceed with instead was killing under consent, or like a assisted killing, which is illegal in Germany at least, and has a jail time of minimum 6 months to 5 years. So in January of 2004, Armin was charged with manslaughter and disturbing the peace of a dead person. That was because of the dissection of Brandes' body. So then Armin was sentenced to 8 years to prison. But it does not end there. It does not end there. So a year later, a German court said, not today. They ordered a retrial because they believed that Armin's sentence was way too merciful, too nice. And they said that he should be charged with murder and also given life imprisonment. So there was like a whole new retrial then. Their argument was that this was not assisted murder. This was not killing under, consent, because this was not initiated by Brandes. This was initiated by Armin. Armin was the one who put up the ad on the Cannibal Cafe asking for someone who wanted to be eaten. So they meant basically that Armin was acting on his own sexual desires, and he was not trying to, he was not obliging to Brandes' requests or wishes. This was all about Armin. And they also argumented that Brandes was way too intoxicated or, affected by the pills and the alcohol to be making any type of decision at all. So the retrial ended in 2006, and Armin's sentence changed from manslaughter to murder, and the jail time changed from 8 years to life imprisonment. So where is Armin now? Armin is still serving his time in jail. He has tried to appeal but has been rejected, and Armin, after getting into prison, pretty much became a vegetarian and also now the leader of an environmental group at the prison. And he says, quote, he finds the idea of farming as distasteful as his crime was. I mean, it's a little, I mean, that's good for him, but god damn. I mean, I do agree, but it's just, I don't know, a little funny. It's a little funny. And another thing to add is that Armin is allowed on day trips to different cities in Germany. He is, however, undercover, and he wears usually a hat of some kind and like sunglasses to protect his face or to cover his face. Of course, he's accompanied by 2 police officers, but he is very much allowed to stroll the streets of some cities. So that was the case of today. I would really love to know what you guys think about this case, specifically where you stand with the whole, manslaughter or murder. At the end, Bern wanted to. Listen, I would not really feel safe if Armin was to be walking around the streets here, but I don't think it's murder. And I don't know what you guys will think, but this case overall has caused some debate. People have been like struggling to, Is it murder? Is it not murder? Is it manslaughter? Whatever. So I would really love to hear what you guys think. If there's any other case that you would like me to cover, please write it in the comment section and I will see what I can do. I will now finish my dinner. Thank you guys for watching. Bye!